So everything that we've gone over so far is basically in meditation 1. So meditation 1 is the question, the hard question being posed. And that question is, what, if anything, is truly certain? Another way to put that is there anything which cannot be doubted? Is there anything necessarily true? And at least it seems through the method, this sort of thought experiment of what if everything were a planted memory? What if I'm a brain in a vat floating in outer space? What if there's an all-powerful demon, Beelzebub or Satan or creepy weird predator space aliens, and they're more powerful than me and they're basically tricking me about everything? What if it's all just a virtual reality simulation where the computer plugs into you and says 2 and 3 is 5, 2 and 3 is 5, 2 and 3 is 5, but there's no such thing as 2 and 3 or 5 in the whole world? Okay. You really have to wrestle with that. That's meditation 1. And Descartes says if you really think about how deep that question is, how far-reaching it is, and how successfully it turns every seemingly true idea into a seemingly false idea, you should be, as he says at the end of it, you should be a little freaked out. So that's how the question of meditation 1 ends, is he goes, what kind of can of worms did I just open up here? What rabbit hole did I just willingly throw myself down? And it's supposed to be sort of dramatic, right? It's supposed to be, that's why he ends that chapter there, is to let that sink in for a second. And that's why I, copying Descartes, ended the recording last time where I did. But that was the question. And darn it, we've asked the question enough. Let's move forward. You want an answer to this? You want Descartes' answer? Which you've already read, but you want it explained a little more? This is what Descartes says. The first couple of pages of the second meditation repeat the difficulty. And he says, I can't believe my body, I can't believe my senses, I can't believe math or geometry, because that's what the Matrix wants me to think. That's what the Predator space alien planted in my head. And he says, okay. You could say he hits rock bottom here in a very different sense than we normally say that. He says, okay, wait a second. He says, even if I'm in the Matrix and up is down and left is right and 2 and 3 equals blip instead of 5, he says, okay, even if I am thinking falsely right now, he says, something's still certainly true, even in the midst of my falsity. So write down, either with pen and paper or in your computer, write down right now, I am blue. I am colored blue. Okay, now I haven't met most of you, but presumably none of you are blue. So that's a false idea, right? But just look at the grammar of that sentence. Type another sentence below it. I am colored red. Okay? So, logically, those two statements can't both be true, right? Even if you were blue, which you're not, but let's pretend, even if you were blue, you couldn't be red in the same way at the same time, right? So same thing, you can paint your fingernails all red. Okay, that part of you is red. But that also means as long as your fingernails are painted red, they're not blue, right? Okay, so you write those two statements. Logically, either one of them is false or both of them is false. Okay, they can't both be true. They can both be false. One could be true and the other one false, but they can't both be true at the same time and in the same way. Does that make sense? Okay, so look at those two statements. Whether one is false or both is false, look at what they have in common. I am. The grammar of that sentence shows you a profound truth, and this is the first truth Descartes says, which cannot be doubted. That is, this truth that I've just had you write down, so I hope you wrote it down, it's pretty important. This truth cannot be doubted, therefore, this idea is certainly true, even if you're in the Matrix. Even if aliens have controlled your mind your whole life. Even if you're an alien and not a human being. You can write down, I am anything. I am thinking. I am happy. I am starving. I am dead. You could even write that down. And no matter if those statements are true or false, all of them have snuck in there, no matter how you phrase them, somehow implied in those statements is I am. Basically, it's this. Write down the sentence, I am deceived. Even when you're deceived, Descartes says, you are and you exist. Even in the moment you are deceived, you exist as deceived, but you exist no less than you exist at the moment when you're not deceived. So let's put it this way. If I say I am telling the truth, I can't use that. Sorry, that's a different philosophy example. If I say I am the tallest man in the world, and then I say I am the 400th tallest man in the world, at the moment I say that, I am existing. I might be the shortest man in the world. I might be the 405th tallest man in the world. I might be a woman saying that I'm the tallest man in the world. But whatever I'm wrong about, whatever's unclear about that, one thing is crystal clear and cannot be doubted. At the moment you say, I am XYZ, I am thinking the truth, I am deceived, I am confused, I am not sure if I'm confused. At that moment, whatever kind of thing you are, you must certainly be something to be confused. You understand? If you say, I am a square, you're probably wrong. But for you to be anything that claims to be a square or claims to be a tall man or claims to be a merman or a mermaid, you've got to be something to declare those rather silly false statements. So this is when it all starts to build back up. The first meditation is Descartes whittling away every possible idea, showing every possible idea to maybe be false. He doesn't show that they are false, but just that they could be. Here's where he hits rock bottom. He says, can I pretend at the moment I say I am XYZ, I am deceived, I am hungry, I am a merman, whatever. At the moment I say that or think that, is there any way that I could be saying, doing, feeling, whatever, that sentence, and not be something saying, doing, feeling that sentence? It's impossible. Right? It's impossible. It's like saying that an object has a certain amount of speed and saying it doesn't exist. Or saying that an object has a weight but doesn't have a place in the world. Right? I might be wrong about what the chair I just tapped with my foot weighs, but if it weighs anything, it must be real. I might be incorrect about describing its color. It's a horrible color brown, I'll be honest with you. It's a horrible color brown. But maybe it's actually a lovely color brown or a really awesome green. Maybe I'm colorblind. But for me to be wrong about the object's color, it must be an object which exists. So let's be really precise about this. Descartes says there is one thing that while everything else is certain, there's one secure starting place. It's his Archimedean point, he says. The one secure place. This is your anchor, and this is your home as a thinking subject. Okay, this is the one thing you never have to worry about. It's your starting place. And that's that. At the moment in which you're thinking, even if you're completely wrong, you will still nonetheless be completely right about one thing, which is that at the moment you think, you must be existing in some form or fashion. Now here, I got to tell you, slow your roll. Slow up for a second. All Descartes says so far is that at the moment you think something, you can be sure that you exist. That's why he said it differently in another book, but that's why in another book he says, I think, therefore I exist. But that's all he says. It's just bare existence that you get as your first step. Don't worry, we'll get everything back. You'll be able to tell that you're not dreaming. You'll be able to tell that there's no malicious demon. You'll be able to tell that you have a body. Because remember, we threw out bodily sensation first. That was the most doubtful thing, and we chucked it to the curb right away. You'll get your body back, though. You'll get bodily sensation as fairly reliable information about the world. But for now, as I said, slow your roll. All you have is that you exist at this moment while you're thinking. It's sort of funny to consider, but at this moment, if you stop thinking, if you stop philosophizing, you can't be certain that you exist. Mind's blown, right? So all we have at first is that at the moment you're deceived, you still must exist. So the only first certain idea is that you exist at this moment in time. I can guarantee you that if there's a paper topic on Descartes, it's almost certain that at some point you would have to explain this first point. The first certain idea. Remember, this isn't just something he thinks, but it's an idea which cannot be doubted, because even doubting, you'd say, I doubt that I exist. Or let's put it this way, I am doubting that I exist right now. I am. You see? Even if you think, I am doubting that I exist at this moment, it undoes that particular idea and affirms only, I am, I exist. So, for a paper topic, say on Descartes, at some point you'd almost certainly have to reference this giant idea, right? The one sole foundation that you start with. But what a lot of students mess up is they say, evil demon, they nail all that stuff. Dreams, they give great details and examples. And then they say, so Descartes shows that I know that I exist, I can see the world again, God is real and good, all this sort of stuff. But that stuff doesn't come back until way later. So be like Descartes here. Be a good scientist. Only claim those things that you can know for sure, and go slowly and patiently building truth upon truth, certainty upon certainty. And just like geometry, you'll see it's just like geometry. If you go slowly and you move from certain idea to certain idea, it's impossible to make a mistake. Let me say that again. If you go slowly with Descartes, if you pause right here and say, all I know for sure is that I exist at this moment. I don't know what I am. I don't know where I am. I don't know if God is real. If you go slowly with Descartes, if you follow the method, it is impossible for you to be wrong. If you move from certain idea to certain idea really slowly, you will never, ever be wrong about anything. So you see why Descartes is not a skeptic. He's not trying to doubt the world. He's in fact trying to figure out what he can be certain about in the world. He's not in fact demolishing ideas. He's demolishing ideas so he can rebuild on a secure foundation, a perfect and perfectly true building. And if you go slow and follow his method, whether in science or in math or in philosophy, you too can guarantee the truth and perfection of your ideas by going slowly and patiently. Okay, so the first idea is simply, I exist. Now the true ideas come fast and furious. Descartes says, okay, if I exist because at the moment I'm thinking, even if I'm thinking falsely, I am thinking, therefore I am or I exist. He says, wait a second. Now I've got a second idea which I can be certain about. Whatever thinking means, and whether my ideas are true or false, if thinking at this moment is what showed me that I must exist at this moment, then surely I'm a thinking thing first and foremost. So, first idea is that you exist. And he says, well, it was thinking about demons and dreams and all that showed me I existed. Thinking is what you are. So we go back to the very beginning of the meditation now. Your senses can deceive. Sure, ideas can deceive too. But when your body senses something, where do you register that sensation? You register it in your mind, Descartes says. You register it in your mind. So, towards the end of our reading, there's a wax example. Basically, this is what Descartes says. Your body will tell you that a candle is giving off light. And yeah, it turns out it's your eyeballs that see that, no doubt about it. And your hand will tell you that the wax is getting warmer. And your nose will tell you that the wax smells like honeybees. Aren't bodies wonderful? Aren't candles nice? But he says, when I ask you, what's that smell? And you say it's the honeybee, the wax from the honeybee that the candle's made of. And I go, okay. And I say, where's that light coming from? And you go, man, for a philosophy professor, this guy's pretty dumb. The light's coming from the candle. Oh, okay. And then I say, what's this warm thing giving off light? And you go, yeah, Chris, the game's not fun anymore. That's a candle too. He says, your nose tells you one thing. Your bodily sensation tells you one thing, smell. Your hand tells you something totally different, warmth. Your eyes tell you something entirely different still, light. So you see there's 3 different things coming from your body there. What tells you that it's all the same object? When you tell me, pretending to be sort of dumb, what's making light, what's that warm sensation, what's that smell, and you say, dear Chris, they're all one and the same candle, that candle right there in front of you, that single candle, what part of you can tell yourself that it's the same candle? It's not your nose, because your nose only tells you the smell of honey. It's not your eyes, because your eyes only tell you light that flickers, sort of dim, etc. It's also not your hand, because your hand's telling you warmth, which is accurate. But what's telling you oneness? What's saying candle, single candle, holds together all these different sensations? It's not your body. It's your mind. So this is how Descartes builds up. You see how all these points are connected? And you see how they have to happen in this order and not some other order? If Descartes just jumped out and said, welcome to my first meditation. Here's a candle. Your mind knows it's one thing. Your body isn't what knows it as one thing. It's your mind knowing one candle doing all these many things. You could have all sorts of ways to doubt that, or argue with him, or draw some other conclusion from his point. It's only after going through doubt and kicking out sensation, and then only after figuring out that he must surely exist with certainty, no matter what else is uncertain, and then taking the next step, well, how did he figure out that he certainly exists, even if he's thinking incorrectly? Through the process of thinking. It's only then that a few pages later, at the end of the second meditation, he can go, this is how much you are your mind. You are your body. We'll get that back later. But he says, here's the third thought, the third certain idea. You are essentially your mind and not your body. Right? This is the third thought. The third thought is that while you have a body, probably, you must be at your core a mind, a mental substance. And that whatever your sensations are, even if they're very true and very real, they're secondary to the power of your mind. And why is that? Because you can't imagine yourself without a body. Just like you could talk about candles without looking at candles. So he says you can't imagine yourself without a body. In fact, if you believe in an afterlife, you probably imagine yourself without a body once you're dead, correct? So it's possible for something to be a mind, a body, a soul. But he says you can't imagine yourself as being you and being just a body without a mind, without a soul. It's like you can imagine a triangle without a color. Just picture three lines joined together and don't really give them a color. So color here would be like your physical body. But you can't imagine a triangle without lines. So the third certain idea of Descartes is this. You are a mind, and that is your core essence. That's what a human being really, really, really is a mind or a soul. And while he's going to prove that you have a body later, the body is just the wrapper, basically, for the soul. You're like a birthday gift. The gift is what's good, right? What's inside. And while the wrapping on the birthday gift is real and is, nice, I'm glad there's wrapping around it, you can do away with the wrapping and be left with the real, essential, important thing, which is the gift or the mind or soul. Think about it this way. You could cut off one of your toes and you'd still be you, correct? It's unfortunate, but it's true. I used to have quite a bit more hair. Some of it left my body, and it doesn't appear to be coming back. But I'm still me. But think about it this way. If we took away your mind, it's not clear what you would be. But if I took away your mind, your memories, your ability to think, your ability to speak, etc., I don't think I'd say you are the same person anymore. If I took away, well, I'm not taking it away. If you took away one of your toes, I would definitely say you're the same person. If you painted your fingernails red, I'd say you're the same person. If you shaved off all of your hair, I'd say you're the same person. If you got vitiligo, that condition where your skin starts changing colors, I would say you're the same person. You get diabetes, again, all these bodily changes, right? Your body's like the candle. The wax of the candle, the smell of the candle, the light of the candle. They're real, but there's something deeper, more true, and more essential about you than the color of your skin, how much hair you have, and bodily conditions like diabetes or not having diabetes. That's your mind or your soul, and that's the real you. So once more, a little bit of summary and then a little bit of payoff. The summary is this. Descartes tried to doubt everything. That's the first meditation. But he said, even in the moment of doubting, he says, I am doubting that I exist. He still has to affirm as true that he is. I am equals he is. So he must exist at that moment. That's the first certain idea. The second certain idea is, well, how did I figure out that I exist? It's through thinking through the first two meditations. So I must be thinking. And then he says, and this sort of is spread out through the rest of the second meditation. He says, okay, but I'm thinking, I can imagine various things. I can imagine myself without a body, but I cannot imagine myself without thought. So the third step is he says, I must be a thinking thing first and foremost. Without thought, it's impossible to be me. Without my body, I could still be me without my body. That's what he says is the third certain idea. So here's the payoff. Hopefully I don't break my arm from patting myself on the back, but one of the ways to define what philosophy is thinking about thought itself. Thinking about where ideas come from. Thinking about which ideas are merely apparent, right? Ooh, that smells like something's burning. Nope, that's just grandma's cooking. And which ideas are absolutely certainly true. Human beings, Descartes says, are essentially thinking things. Res cogitans is the Latin, and it just means, res means thing, and cogitans means thinking, the act of thinking. Human beings are essentially thinking things. Yes, we have bodies, but our bodies do not define us. Your mind or your soul defines you. And what does philosophy do? It thinks about thought. So, you are essentially your thoughts. That's the core, that's what essential means here. It's like the core, most real part of you is your thoughts, your mind or your soul. And what's philosophy do? It thinks about thoughts. So philosophy is the way in which you can come to know yourself, the real, core, essential part of yourself, your thoughts or your inner life. Because that's what philosophy does in a nutshell. It thinks thought, and you are essentially your thoughts. So philosophy is the way in which you get closest to yourself, in which you know yourself with the most clarity and the most precision and the most truth. So that's the payoff today. If that's true, makes me feel pretty good to be a philosopher. And it should make you feel pretty good to be in a philosophy class. Okay, if I had a microphone, I would drop it, but I'm recording this on my iPhone. It's my microphone. I'm not doing a mic drop with my iPhone. Just imagine it with your thinking self. How about that, right? Okay, enough funny business. Here's the question. Once more, we'll end the recording, and this will actually end our first day of Descartes. Okay, we'll end with a question. Do you personally agree that you are most essentially your mind or your soul and not your body? So, one way to challenge Descartes on this is say, okay, smart guy, you're essentially your mind or soul. And like the power that says this is one candle versus the senses which say, oh, hot, cold, light, dark, smell, non-smell, right? You think that's what defines you. You go, okay, smart guy, I cut off your head. I move two parts of your body 1 inch apart, just 1 inch apart, all the way through your neck. You go, well, okay, I messed with your body. You don't seem to be the same person anymore. So remember, I gave the easy, answer before I say, oh, if I cut off a toe, are you the same person? Well, how about this? If someone, once more, not me, if someone cuts off your head, moves it just an inch apart from your neck, about 5 minutes later, would you say that you're the same person? Or, let's be equally dark and dramatic, but a little bit more realistic. And this will touch a nerve for some people, so I hope I don't, I'm not trying to antagonize anyone. But what if you got a mental illness? What if you were schizophrenic? What if you developed Alzheimer's? Those seem to be things which are rooted pretty much in our bodies, and yet do seem to deeply change who we are. So here's the challenge to Descartes. He says, yeah, you have a body, but it's like the wrapping on a Christmas gift or a wrapping on a birthday present. It's real, but it's not the core thing. It seems, though, that some bodily changes actually somehow change the inside, the most essential thing. Right? So the question I pose to you is just, with that in mind, what do you think? Would someone like to play devil's advocate against Descartes and say, nope, we're at least as much our bodies, or maybe even say we're only our bodies? The brain, the physical brain matter, that's what we really are. So that's my final comment on this first part of Descartes. Once more, the recording ends to give you time to think about that and to share your ideas in the discussion board. Okay, thank you, everyone. As always, if you have any questions, share them with me via email. And if not, go directly to the discussion board now after you've thought about it and say, somebody play devil's advocate and say, no, we're bodies first, not minds first. Okay, thank you, everyone.